Hello, welcome back to the Local Rockstar. I'm still Bill. This episode is a little late getting here, but it is a good one. I had an opportunity to chat with Maria. Maria is a talented musician with a long history. I don't want to waste too much of your time, so let's get at it. Okay, welcome back to the Local Rockstar. I've got with me today Maria Nemish. How'd I do?
You did great. Great.
She's a semi-professional musician that I've known for a few years, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her history and hopefully share some good and not so good experiences. So, without further ado,
Thank you.
it's you.
It's me. Great. Well, thank you for having me here.
No problem.
We met when I was playing the guitar and singing
Yes.
around, it wasn't even a campfire, it was just a afternoon barbecue
We met
kind of day.
before that.
Right, but
we
that's when
met
you first heard my music, I think, is where it's going. No?
No, it was at Sam and Thomas's wedding.
Okay.
I didn't know you until you started playing.
Okay.
And then it was like, wow, this girl can do stuff.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, it was later on when Wayne was clocking around the campfire.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, time does fly. Things get
does.
blurred. Yeah.
It
The,
does.
the piano was my main instrument for many years. And
Right.
I was telling my parents about coming and doing this today. And I said, I don't even really remember how I got into music other than my family was really musical. And Mom says, well, I know how. You couldn't have even been old enough to reach the keyboard. And I would hear commercials on the television and run over and play them on the piano. She said I was like 2 or 3 years old
Really?
doing that. Yeah.
Yep.
So then my dad taught me how to chord,
Right.
and he played guitar and sang, and I would watch his fingers move so I would know which chords to change to. So this is what a G looks like, and this is what a C looks like.
Right.
And then they put me in lessons, so I am fortunate enough to be able to read music as well. So I've got that
Fancy.
nice balance of being able to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. That's very good. Most of the musicians that I know don't. My own band, the guys are very, very talented and well versed in all aspects of the music. And my guitar player will shoo me off the drums and show me a part if I'm not getting it.
Wow.
That is huge. When you play drums like I do, you got to surround yourself with really good musicians.
Well, it's always nice to be around good musicians.
Right, you can learn no matter what. What I always found is, like we go to Alvin's and play. Anybody will show up. Anybody will play. The vast majority don't have a lot of musical background, and I'm finding out more and more that they don't even come from a musical family. They just decided they were going to play the guitar or they were going to play the drums, and yeah. So one of these days when we're doing that, you need to bring a guitar.
Okay.
And whether you do electric or acoustic or whatever, that's on you. But you need to come out and be involved in that.
All right.
It's just so much fun. And everybody's there. I didn't mean to sidetrack you, but Tab's brother, he's got a name. I remember he's got a first name. You remember his first name?
I do not.
Oh, man. Anyway, I will remember. I'm going to feel bad about not remembering because he's a cool guy. I always call him the dirty hippie because he had the dreadlocks for so long.
Oh, yes.
So I've kind of forgotten.
Chad.
Chad, that's the guy.
Yes.
Yes, so you did know. Fantastic guitar player, but we don't play the same music. He's a metal guy, and he's good. He's really good. Played bass, played guitar, and he's really, really good. But then when you get into the atmosphere that we try to present there, doesn't matter what the background is, you're playing for the love of the music. Nothing else matters, and it just sounds so good.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you.
No, that's okay.
It's it's good. But,
Well, I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by musical people. My dad played the tuba in 2 Legion bands
Right.
for 30 years. Well, one for sure for 30 years, one for less than that.
yeah.
And so they were always having band parties at our place, and there was just, you would play your brass instrument, and then they would all bring their fiddles and their accordions and their guitars to the party, right? And
Yeah.
then it became this great musical swap.
Yeah.
So when I learned how to play the guitar, if it was somebody else's turn at the piano, I could still play.
Yeah.
Like, right? Or that you could have your first shot at a banjo or your first shot at a ukulele
Yep.
too, right? Where
Yep.
yeah. So I have a lot of fond memories of band parties where,
That's huge.
yeah, it was great. And my parents often hosted, and so it was right there and
Right from the time you're just a little gaffer, you're just right in the mix.
right in the mix. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, for sure.
Sherry's family had a reunion many years ago. The boys were just little, and it was so cool. Like, it was, everything was I mean, each part of the family was wearing a different color, so you could figure out who was with who, and it was really cool. They had events set up, and they had all kinds of dumb shit going on, like the usual reunion fare, all this stuff. And then at some point, it was just, everything just went, and out come about 14 guitars, and they just started, sitting around the fire, and somebody started playing and singing, and then all of a sudden, until everybody was playing something. It was so cool.
And even the shyest of singers would be in the background singing or
Yes.
tapping their toe, or the
Something.
spoons would come out. Everybody participated.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Uncle played pork chop bones.
Pork chop.
I don't know why. He had one set of pork chop bones that he played for 20 years, 30 years. Same
Like
bones.
real pork chop
Yeah.
bones? I've never seen that.
Yeah, it was. I don't think that he's passed now, of course, but I don't think that there's any permanent record of him ever playing them. But he would get the pork chop bones out, and he would be playing away. And he was a heavier drinker in those days too. So, yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
But yeah, so you
That's
get
right.
into that sort of atmosphere,
Yeah.
and as long as somebody's playing, everybody's doing something. Whether you're singing, tapping your foot, beating on a countertop, whatever, you're involved. And
Yeah.
that's
Those
huge.
are fun times. Music brings a
Learn
lot
so
of fun.
much.
Yes.
Absolutely, very good.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the time, like how I learned to play the guitar after you asked me to do this, and it was a really fun time for me. I was first year of college, and my parents showed up with this beautiful red sunburst Diastone guitar. I don't know what kind of make that is. I've never seen it anywhere else. Had a beautiful sound. It's certainly not a Martin or a Fender, but and they bought it for $35 at a garage sale and said, "You probably could learn that." And they left it with me, and I had this dear friend who loved to sing.
Yep.
And would show up at my door, knocking on it with a pot of coffee. He goes, "Let's go. We're going to the courtyard, and I'm gonna sing, and you're gonna play."
Yeah.
And we had, everybody would come out to the courtyard, and then we'd have requests, and I'm like, I don't know. And that was before you could Google lyrics and
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Hum a few bars and I'll fake it.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're writing down the lyrics and figuring out the chords. And
Yep.
I still have a book from college of all of the songs that we learned just
Yeah.
from the radio or our tapes. Remember doing that?
Oh
When you
yes.
Stop
Oh,
and
yes.
start and learn the songs that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I managed to get. I had to at some point learn the theme song from Happy Days,
Okay.
and of course, when it only comes on once a week, you can't learn anything from that. I wanted to learn the lyrics, but I wanted the drum line, so I literally sat down with my recorder and the microphone at the TV speaker, and I recorded the theme song for Happy Days, and then I learned to play it on the drums. It's like, okay. Once I was done, it's like, well, that was kind of stupid, but I did it.
Oh, that's how we learned.
Yeah.
What else did we have, right?
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now there's tutorials on YouTube and
Oh,
all
yeah.
of that. This is how you do it. That's
Yeah.
not how I learned.
you can pull the tabs off the internet in about 8 seconds.
Yes.
And they've got the lyrics are there, the chord structure, it's all there, and you can
You
have
can
the song.
transpose it on there too,
Yeah.
right? If it's not in your singing key.
I was doing a jam at a buddy's house years and years and years ago, and I don't even remember which buddy. It doesn't matter, but it was one of the few times we ever jammed together. And he had a friend over with a guitar, and they were playing. And it was this particular song that she wanted to play, and that was fine. So she disappeared, and she came back a few minutes later with this piece of paper with the chord structure on it. And she said, "Here, I printed you off a copy." And I'm, what the fuck am I going to do with that? I felt kind of bad saying anything, but it's like she couldn't be dumb enough to think that guitar chords were going to help me in any way on the drum kit. And I'm thinking, okay, well maybe she's thinking I'm trying to fast forward through this, in my mind so that I don't offend this girl and say, "What? How stupid are you?" Because that would be a wrong thing. People don't like that.
People don't like that,
Yeah,
though.
but the reality of the whole thing was that I had no idea what I was going to do with it, but I didn't want to offend her. So I'm just scrolling through like, what do I do with this? Maybe she thought I was going to do some vocals,
Maybe.
which I didn't have a microphone, and I was the only one in the room that didn't. So I wasn't likely going to do any vocals. And of course, that being said, about, maybe 15 to 20 minutes later, I threw out, I think it was Charlie Daniels' Long Haired Country Boy.
Okay.
I can sing that, and I can sing it quite loud, but I don't need a microphone. So I threw that out, and I'm trying to remember the, there's a blues musician, and her name was Susie Vinnick, and her boyfriend at the time was a fairly talented vocalist, and every time I would sing a song that particular evening, this buddy of mine's like, "You sound like whatever Susie Vinnick's boyfriend's name was. You sound just like him." I was like, "Really?" Because I've heard myself recorded, and I don't like the sound of my voice at all. I don't like my voice when it's recorded and I'm talking. I don't like it when I'm singing. I don't like it. Well, yeah, nobody does, and I get that, but yeah. So that was a whole big thing. But what the fuck am I gonna do with the chords?
Oh, that is a riot. That is really funny. Yeah, drum music. Well, not that you would read it anyway, but drum music and chords like that are very different animals.
Yes, and I have seen drum music, and I years ago, one of my buddies, he was going to learn to play the drums. He wanted to learn the right way, so he was going through chord structure, and he was getting it all sorted out, and he was showing me on his phone.
Right.
Okay, now he's got a practice kit on his phone, drum kit.
Amazing. It's amazing.
And so the
Yeah.
music's just passing by here, and he's hitting the right pad, and it sounds like he's playing the drums. It's like, that's just bullshit.
Yeah, that's not how you play drums.
That's not it.
I know how to play the Hogan's Heroes theme song on the snare drum. That's the only thing I know how
Okay.
to do on the drums. When I was in high school band, percussion was a very much a boys' club.
Yes.
And
When I was in high school,
Yes.
not only was it a boys' club, I think you had to be related to one of the teachers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really, really, really hard
tight.
to get. Yeah. I wasn't in high school for very long. I didn't stay long. They wouldn't let me play the drums, so to hell with them.
Yeah. I'm out of here.
So yeah, I had no chance, absolutely no chance. And I asked before I enrolled, any chance I can play the drums, and they literally, the guidance counselor looked at me and said, "No."
No, you can't do that. I think I snuck on to the snare drum one day before practice.
Yep.
And that's what we were practicing, was the Hogan's Hero theme song. And I just kind of looked at it and figured, like, this must be what this means. And my brother loved that show, so I could, like, figure that out.
Yeah.
And so I snuck that in there one day
Yeah.
during band. But they wouldn't even let me play the xylophone. Like, that was boy percussion.
Really?
Yeah, that was it. So I played trumpet in high school band.
Yeah. Do you remember a trumpet player named Chuck Mangione?
I don't.
If you heard one of his hits, I'm sure you'd remember. They still play it
Yeah.
occasionally. And one of our high school assemblies in the gym, I don't even remember what the assembly itself was for. They had some sort of news that they thought we were going to need, and so they wheel out the drum kit. And I don't know the girl's name. It was one of the students. She was a grade 11 or grade 12 student, and she came out with her trumpet, and she was a heavier set girl. She did this Chuck Mangione tune, and I wish I could remember the name of it, and you probably would know it.
Yeah.
But it's drums and trumpet is really all that's there. And the two of them, they just went at it. Holy shit, it was good.
Was it?
It was so incredibly,
I'll have to look that
insanely
up.
good. Yeah, he was kind of like Ashley McIsaac with the fiddle. Like
Okay.
for about 15 minutes, you couldn't get enough of him, and then after that, he was just gone. I don't know whatever happened
Right.
to him, but he had
I saw Ashley
one or
McIsaac
two.
in concert.
What's that?
I saw Ashley McIsaac in concert in Thunder Bay.
That would be a thing to see as well. another guy that, of course, he's a Canadian musician, right? So he's not going to make any money anyway.
Right.
What's the guy's name? He's from the East Coast. He's a rapper. I'll remember later, but he said, I'm really famous in Canada, but I still do my own laundry.
Right. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I've sidetracked you yet again.
No, that's okay. What are we talking about? You're talking about high school music.
Yeah.
Band.
Yeah.
Band was a lot of fun. And it was actually cool to be in band when I was in band. It wasn't like...
Our high school was groups.
Yes.
And see, my problem as a high school student in Goderich at that time was I lived in the country, so I wasn't a town kid.
Right.
So that eliminated me from certain groups. I also wasn't a jock, and I wasn't an academic, and I didn't live far enough out of the country to be on a farm, so I wasn't one of the farm kids either.
Right.
So there was no real group for me to fit into. So I just smoked a lot of weed and then left.
There you go. No, I know what I wanted to say, because before we started recording, we were just talking about how, like, playing at weddings and playing at different services, that all eyes are on you.
Mm-hmm.
The most scariest experience, and I won't do it again, is playing the last post on your trumpet at a Remembrance Day service, and being the trumpet player for that.
Yes.
It is terrifying. I have goosebumps thinking about it now. It is so hard.
Yes.
You are all by yourself, and it is the most silent, spooky, quiet I've ever experienced. I think I've tried to pull it off twice, and I'm like, I'm out. Somebody else can take that job on.
It's nice to be able to say, oh yeah, I'll sort it out. We'll make something work. But like we talked about before, when you're the only one making noise in a crowd of, well, it doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 150 people. If you're the only one making noise, hey, people are looking, people are paying attention, and that, I mean, just adds to whether you feel any sort of stage fright, apprehension at all. I mean, it's going to come out in spades right now. Mm-hmm. And, maybe you can get away with it, and then nope, that wasn't it.
Yeah, that one's the scariest. My parents had me performing very, very young. I remember being like, I want to say 10 or 11. I could be way off, but they were active in the Agriculture Society, so I played for the Queen of the Fair contest. So, O Canada, God Save the Queen, Pomp and Circumstance, the stuff before, the stuff after.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't, like, playing the piano is actually one of the most comfortable things for me to do. I'd almost rather sometimes sit and play for people while they talk, so then I don't have to interact. I'm kind of shy that way. Maybe that's snobby, I don't know. But to me, if there's a piano there and there's people, I will sit down and play it before I mix and mingle.
And if you can work that out, I find a lot of musicians that I know, like I keep referring back to my band, the guys will literally be playing, and we're talking about the song, and they're playing at a low enough volume that they can go on and do what they're doing, still be able to hold the conversation. So it's not as much front and center as far as even having a conversation. And it's like, I like to hide behind the drums. There's a reason I bought a lot of cymbals, and they're big. I can hide back there, and I did a gig years ago, and this young lady, she was dating a friend of mine, and every time I screwed up, she noticed. Every time I smoked in those days, and every time I'd go for a smoke, she'd remind me of all the stupid shit that I did.
That's me.
It's like, I don't need that.
No.
I really just don't. So I killed her, buried her in a shallow grave. But it was, she meant it to be funny, and it was funny, and it was not a gig that I was going to make any money at, so it didn't matter.
No.
It was just funny, but if she'd have been a little bit more malicious intent, that would have just been a mean thing to do. Like, I screwed up a lot, and I'm well aware most of the times that I've screwed up.
Well, we're the first ones to hear it and know it.
Yeah.
Right? And I've come to a place now where I don't make a lot of mistakes, but I'm not going to assume I'm not going to make a mistake. And it's not that you've made a mistake, it's the recovery from the mistake that is so important, right? Like, if you can just keep on going and pick it back up and not have that look of horror on your face.
And When you come around for the next verse, screw it up again so people think you meant to do it that way. Then you own it.
I don't think I've ever done that. I always try to catch it, but that's a good plan. I will keep that in my back pocket.
That was on purpose. That's why I did it. That's how I play that now.
Oh, that's a riot.
I've done that repeatedly.
I think I might use that sometime.
Yeah, mostly not on purpose. It's just the way it worked out.
Right.
There's been a few songs over the years that I just can't get. And as I mentioned earlier, like I am someplace on the spectrum, and I know that, and so it's taken a long time. The musicians that I play with are consummate professionals. These guys are good. They're very good at what they do. I can't blow enough sunshine up their ass about how wonderful they really are. I hope they never listen to this because they won't be able to get my hats after this. But I had a conversation with Jack one time, and I said, look, here's my issue. There's lots of times I know exactly how this song needs to go, but I have to give myself permission in real time to do this, because somehow in my mind I know that if I don't try the drum roll or the fill or whatever, I can just tap it through with the beat, not move too far off the beaten path, and I'm going to get away with it.
Well, you're not going to grow that way either.
No, but if I don't give myself permission in time, it's never going to happen.
Right.
So I have to literally give myself permission that, okay, now's the time, this is going to happen, let's just do that. And 99% of the time it works out really, really well. And once, I don't even remember what song it was, and it doesn't matter what song it was. I tanked it so bad. And I said to the guys, like I started laughing, like it was like I can't recover from this.
Right.
I literally stopped playing and I'm pissing myself laughing. I said, I came out of a drum roll so backwards and upside down that there was no recovery. There was just nothing. So I skid in on my face, brushed myself off, and we started at the next bar. Like this, just go. And
well, I've had gigs where I'm like, okay, we just need to completely stop and start over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole night. Exactly.
Yeah, do over. Because I would rather, like, I can't handle listening to people who have their instruments out of tune, or they've, they're just not getting that tune right that everybody knows.
Yeah.
I would much rather, like, you own it. I'm gonna stop and tune my guitar, or I'm gonna just stop and we'll do another song and come back to it until I get it.
Yeah.
Than to have to suffer through that.
Yeah.
For the musician and the audience.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't know what the guys were talking about the first time they started the conversation. I mentioned a song that we should play. And Jack said, I don't want a down tune. So we'll play it, but we'll play it later.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I didn't know what that meant, but he was in 550 or 440, needed to down tune to 550. And so he sort of in his mind collects up 4 or 5 songs near the end of the night. And
Better
just
in
go
that
ahead.
tuning.
Yeah, he'll go ahead and down tune and we'll play all of those. Well, I didn't want to play it by then anyway. But it took me a long time to figure out what the heck he was
Well, that's why
talking
you see
about.
all of those people switching off guitars at concerts, right? Because they've got them special tuned for whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you got David Wilcox, who he'll go ahead and tune mid-song.
Yeah. Oh, I've done that too. I'm very terrible if I hear, and I can hear it, that the note is out.
Once you've heard it,
Just
you can't unhear it.
Give me 5 seconds. This is all this is going to take.
Yep.
Tune this up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That poor guitar that I was first learned on, it saw a lot of fun. A lot of campfires and a lot of...
Yep.
I don't know if it really saw gigs, but it rode me through my college years and camp years and stuff. And it got dropped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband has fixed it, but now it only holds its tune for like an hour. If I were to play for an hour, it can hold it, and then it just kind of slowly fades
Is that
out.
like the machine heads maybe need to be replaced?
I don't know. I just keep it because it's like a close little friend, or if I have someone.
But a song that cool, or a guitar that cool, if you maybe check in, maybe the machine heads are smoked.
Maybe. There's definitely something wrong with
They're
it.
they're not super expensive, and if you can swap them out and resurrect that guitar,
I wonder who would do that. Would Piano Visions do that?
I would imagine. I can
should
get
take her
you.
anyway.
Trying to remember the guy's name. Fred Parker rings a bell. He's over by Bayfield. He's a luthier. He can do it. I can also talk to Jack, my guitar player. He does some repair. Yeah, we can get you hooked up. But to me, if it's a tuning issue,
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be at the tailpiece. It can't be at the bridge. It's got to be the machine heads or shitty strings.
Well, it's definitely has split at the top where the neck meets the rest of the guitar.
Okay.
There's definitely splits there. But
Okay.
if I do play it, I'll just go, well, it's time to tune. And I worked as an office manager in a long-term care home for about 3 years pre-COVID.
Yep.
And I was their house entertainer, so I kept my favorite,
Yep.
my old guitar in the corner of my
Yep.
office, and
Yes.
if their entertainment didn't show up, and out came the guitar, and I played for an
Yep.
hour as long as my guitar could handle it. And
Yeah, you're there, and you've got residents that want to hear some music. They're planning on hearing something.
Yep.
Yep, they're not going home till
Yeah.
you sing.
That's
Somebody
right.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll make some phone calls and see.
Sure.
If it's split, I mean, it should be able to be repaired. It'd be a matter of some epoxy and a couple of clamps, I would assume. But I don't personally know shit about it. But
Yeah.
if it was drums, I'd have to throw them away. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, there's definitely been attempts to repair it because, and anyway, it's not the guitar that I use most of the time now,
No.
but because we've had gigs that go on 3 or 4 hours, so
yeah.
you need one that can last.
Yes, you need something that's not going to blow apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all the years that I've been playing, I've got a set of digital drums in my basement that I literally picked out of the garbage.
Okay.
My granddaughter, she wanted to learn to play the drums, and I said, okay. She said, do you have a set? And I said, yes, I do. I have a few sets. I mean, I've been playing drums for 40 years. There's a pretty fair shot. I got a couple kits kicking around. I said, do you want digital or do you want conventional? Well, I think digital would be easier. Well, okay, here's a set. Do you want an amplifier? Do I have to? Well, no, you can use headphones if you want. So anyway, to play these things, it took me a little while to get them really working. Like, there was a reason they were in the garbage.
Yeah, usually, if somebody's letting go of an instrument, it's done.
They weren't expensive when they were new, and they sure as hell weren't new when I found them. But they were literally in the garbage. I brought them home, pulled them apart, cleaned them up, put them back together, and made them work. That was fine. The hi-hat would just occasionally not work. That's odd. Open it up. Nope. Poured enough contact cleaner on it that it started working, and it's been working ever since.
Oh, great.
But it's just, if you're going to do anything real, we did a jam on the back deck here last, several summers ago. Anyway, to play them, like, your Prittner had to stop every 2 or 3 songs and put some shit back together. Great for 1 or 2 songs, great
Right.
for a little bit of fun,
Yeah.
but if you're trying to play a set,
No.
no, that's not going to work. Not a thing. So, excellent.
Yeah.
What else you got?
What else have I got? Well, we had talked about or the words back pocket came out, and I'm sure that you have a couple of back pocket songs that if you're sitting around, there'd be a song that you would just know, right? You've got your favorites, you know how to do it probably in your sleep.
Yeah.
I played at my first wedding when I was 16 years old. It was at my cousin's wedding, and the best man took the groom out fishing in their tuxes, and we're an hour late for this wedding.
Okay.
Of course, it was before cell phones and all of that fun stuff too, right? So I had a half an hour of pre-music, and then they didn't come. So I played that same half an hour's worth of music.
Yeah.
And then they didn't come. So then I played that same half an hour's worth of music. So I just kept playing this over and over and over again. And I'm like, when are they coming? And what am I going to do? Like, it was just, and I mean, that was I'm sure the bride was much more worried about what was going on than me going, I'm running out of music here, you know?
Exactly.
When are you going to show up?
Yeah.
But that was a very good lesson to learn early.
Yes. Yes.
So I make sure that I have a good hour's worth of something if I'm going to play before a wedding or play for different things that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
When
have
we
it.
were doing house parties, you'd be playing 6-7 hours because you showed up early, did sound checks. It's like, okay, screw it, we'll start playing. And so you're playing. Well, I'm trying to think. Cindy and Wayne were there. It was at Alvin's place in the camper, the trailer home.
Right.
So we're playing in the kitchen, the living room is sort of down off the kitchen.
Yes.
And so we're playing anyway. We're having a great time, but we are. I think we were 4.5, 5 hours in. We are out, and the last song we played was Crimson and Clover.
Oh, really?
I haven't heard that song in 30 years,
Yes.
and now I got to play it. I know that there's no fills now. We modeled through, we hammered it out. It sounded like absolute trash. And I just dropped my sticks, unplugged my shit, like I'm done.
Yeah.
We don't have any songs left. You feel free to play as long as you'd like, but
That's your new standard. When Crimson and Clover comes out, it's time to leave the party.
that's it. That's all. You can't come back from that. It's over. It's over.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But I mean, it's so nice to play and have a crowd that wants to be interactive enough to start just shouting out something. Can you do this? Can you do that? Well, no, but we're going to try. And that's great. But Crimson and Clover was...
And you can get away with so many, right? Because so many songs have the same 4 chords in it that you
Yes.
can usually figure
The
it
hell
out.
do I know about chords?
Oh, that's true. Sorry.
If I can follow my bass player, I'm gold.
Right.
And it's good. Him and I work really well together. We can pull a lot of stuff out of the... we play... Jack doesn't like to work with a list. Roy likes to have a list. Roy will make a list. He knows we need 30 songs for the night. He'll make a list of 50 songs. Here, pick something off the list. Play whatever you want. We can play all 50 of these songs without question right now, no problem.
Yeah.
Jack's like...
The thing I like about a list is that I often get up there and I forget if I just need the first line. Can you just tell me the first line of the song? And often the first line is the title of the song, or
Yes.
you just have to see the title and that first line comes. So the list really helps me keep that in order.
Yeah. And for me, on the kit, it's usually the first couple of chords. I hear whether the bass is starting, whether the guitar is starting. A lot of times there's songs that I've played at band practice that I didn't know anything about, and then heard on the radio on the way home. And it's like, oh, I played that right. I did that right.
Nice.
That's
a good
kind of
feeling.
cool. And then, of course, there's the rest of the nights. It's
Right.
like, oh boy, did
Yeah.
I screw that up.
And I can see both sides of liking a list and not liking a list.
Yeah.
So my family has a band. Not anymore. My parents retired just in December, but
Yeah.
we played at different functions. And my mom is the great list maker, and she often did a really good job. She does do a good job of putting a nice order, so it's not all the same sounding stuff and
You
whatever.
have to have that flow.
But if all of a sudden you have people dancing and they like a fiddle tune, for example, and she's only put 2 fiddle tunes on the list and then it's moving on, to me, if the crowd is liking that, then keep doing the fiddle tunes and then we'll circle around to the list or we'll do something.
Absolutely.
And so there's not a lot of leeway with people who are like stuck on the list.
Yeah.
Like, I like the list, but then it also has to be changeable to the crowd.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. For exactly the same reason. And it doesn't matter whether it's, like a bar band, crowd's responding, or they're not. So, like when Roy makes up a list, it's a pretty reasonable cross section of what we got going on. There's probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs that we could play with a little bit of a reminder, but the issue becomes, the crowd's not responding, so we need to switch it up. We need to do something else. Or the crowd's loving this stuff. Like you said, we'll just keep going with these. But Jack will go off the reservation. We were playing, and it was just... I'm Moni, Billy Idol. You familiar with the song?
Oh yes, love Billy Idol.
Yeah. What's the drum line sound like? That's a problem I had. We played it once, and then we're at a gig. Let's play it.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Uh-oh.
Where do the drums come in on this again? when you hear it and it's coming on the radio, you know exactly what's going on, and you're tapping on the steering wheel. You're having a super
Right.
time with it. But when that's not happening, you just got the guitar that starts that song. It's like, okay, the drums come in somewhere. I remember they're in this song. I just don't have a clue where.
And I apologize. I don't listen for drum lines very often.
No, nobody does.
No.
I have said for years, nobody cares what the drums are. They just have to be there.
They have to be there.
They will notice if they're gone. And I've only ever run across a few times that people really pay attention. Mostly, it's Roy, my bass player. If I fuck up, he knows. Excuse my language. He knows right away,
Right.
and he will notice it probably before I will. At the same time, there was one song we were doing, and I don't remember the name of the song. It was something along the lines of Cracker Man.
Okay.
It's anyway, doesn't matter. There's this little cheesy little drum roll that's in it, and it's kind of a half drum roll, half fill, and it's just a brrr,
Okay.
and I kept missing it.
It's important.
Yeah, it needs to be there. Or the song isn't the song, and I kept missing it. And then all of a sudden, Roy he looked at me like, brrr, and just get it on the bass. Thank you. Until I eventually figured out where it needed to be and got the timing right. But there's Cracker Man and Man in a Box. If you take the guitars, or the guitar, and the vocals out, there is a lot of similarities in the bass line and a lot of similarities even in the guitar to a certain extent. But the drum line is different but the same, if that makes any sense. So unless I'm listening really, really close to the vocals, I can get tripped up really easily. And I mentioned it to the guys. I said, like, this happens to me. And so be aware of that. If we're playing these two songs, it's probably better if I know they're both coming and I can play them back to back. Because later in the night, I'm going to forget which one we already played,
Right.
so I won't know which one this is. And it's mid-song where the similarities happen, so I can just and get screwed. And that's where I'm going to land on my ass and try to, dig my way back out of it.
Right.
But yeah,
Well, and playing with people is so much fun, but if you're playing to perform, like it's hard to express how much work it takes to get a song ready.
hmm
Because you have all these people coming together with their own style, and when you find people to play with that you mesh so well with, it's just such a gem. Like I'm in a band with a couple from just outside of Walton. We've been playing together we can't decide. It was somewhere like 8 or 9 years
right.
now, and we do the retirement home circuit mostly, but
Yep.
we've played at Kingsbridge a couple times. We played on the square in Goderich, and we've had some kind of nicer gigs, but
Yep.
we were actually to find people to actually play with is so nice,
Yeah.
right? Because there's lots of people, like we were talking earlier about Chad, he's a fantastic musician, but if he plays metal and I chord for fiddle music,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we can both bring our instruments to the party, but we're not going to make good music. And so
Yeah.
it's nice when you have people in your life that you can
Yeah.
share that with.
And if it's one thing to get together for a jam where there's it's all different people, but when you're doing a weekly thing, you need people you can get along with, and it's
Yes.
get along with musically and socially.
Yes.
Otherwise it's just not going to work.
No.
I mean, you want people that are going to cover your ass when you screw up, and you will screw up.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have similar music tastes, the guys were always convinced that I like country music,
Oh yeah.
and I never did. I don't know where they got that idea, and it finally occurred to me after many years of us getting together and playing. When I play the drums, it's a very much country style that I play. It's there's no other way for me to explain it other than I'm a country drummer, but that's what I was learning to play when I was learning to play the drums. So
That's what you have.
that's the music I had available, and that's what I was learning. So I mean, you got to have those guys that or people, I should say, and that you can mesh with.
Yes.
And without that, you're dead in the water before you even get started.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're doing the senior circuit,
Yeah.
and that's going good.
Well, we haven't been as active this year as and it's my fault. My schedule has been very hairy scary this year, but we're hoping to get back into it.
Well, with your job, I mean, you're working 2 different shifts, 3 shifts.
I work 7 to 7 days and 7 to 7 nights, and I work at 2 hospitals.
Yeah.
So it does make it a little tricky to.
There's a lot of people that don't want to get together to practice at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, and we went through the same thing when we were working shift work. You know, guys on different shifts. When you're getting together, Saturday morning, nope,
Yeah.
going golfing.
No. Weekends are so precious when you work shift work.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the only time you got, right?
But yeah, that's going well. I'm hoping to get. We need to get more gigs because I am very much a person. If I don't have a deadline for something, it doesn't happen.
Right.
So I can go a long period of time without playing anything or picking anything up because I don't have a gig to practice for.
Yep.
When I was the organist at a church, that was good for me because I had to plan anthems and I had to, get every week there was always something for me to be doing.
Right.
But when the pandemic hit, I went back to shift work, and so I haven't done that for so long. So yeah, I can easily walk by my piano and not touch it, and I think, well, my poor friend, I'm so sorry I'm neglecting
Yep.
you, but
Yep.
yeah.
It's all about focus.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're over 40 minutes in.
Oh my goodness, we should wrap it up.
If you're ready to do that, we will do that.
I think people will be tired of listening to us.
You'd be surprised how much both of our listeners enjoy, however long it goes.
Okay.
And
Both of our listeners.
if you want to do another 40 minutes, I'll do a couple of episodes. I have no issues with that. If you're comfortable wrapping it up, or if you want to pop back another time, we can have.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we wrap this up and
All
then
right.
we'll think about it another time.
Well,
I can think of more stories for you.
We'll wrap it up and we'll do this again.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks so much. Well, that was a lot of info in short order. I'm hoping Maria can stop back again for another episode. As always, I'd like to get some feedback. I'd like to hear from you if I could. Don't hesitate to put a like and follow, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.